always.
Dus nu komen de ketless downpipes op. Zullen de buren leuk vinden?
Don't drink and smoke. Oh wait, what?
Hallo.
Leuk dat je kijkt naar een nieuwe video van Absolute Motors, waar we auto's mooier, beter en sneller maken. Ja, normaal gesproken skippen we best wel snel over een project. En in deze video willen we dat even anders gaan doen. Want we gaan namelijk even inzoomen op de werkzaamheden. En dat doen we bij deze BMW M2 CS. Fantastische auto. Daar gaan we inzoomen op het wrappen van de auto. Dat doen we samen met Bjorn en Becky. En dan hebben we nog een Ferrari 812 Superfast hiernaast staan. En daar zoomen we even in op de montage van een uitlaatsysteem. Nou, het is natuurlijk niet een normale auto, niet een normaal uitlaatsysteem, dus er komt best wel wat bij kijken. Dat gaan Ryan en Scott doen, dus kijk mee.
En cut.
Ik ben de downpipes aan het demonteren.
Van een?
Van een Ferrari 812.
Maar hij heeft gewoon Novitec downpipes.
Ja, een sportkats. Maar meneer wil ketless downpipes. Zullen de buren niet blij mee zijn? Wij, by the way, wel. Zouden jouw buren dit leuk vinden?
Ik denk dat mijn buren dit niet
Nee.
kunnen waarderen. Nee.
Ze gaan gewoon binnen 3 weken op de koopbord doen.
Ja, 2.
T-E-A-B is gewoon. Piek maar.
Gewoon nu meenemen.
Moet
Nu
hij
meenemen.
nu weg.
Gewoon de sleutels aan het bord. Ja.
Ja, het is wel ingewikkeld. Deze is ingewikkeld. Oeroes, die zijn makkelijk. Die gaan er vanaf bovenuit. Een stuk minder demontagewerk. Beetje uitdaging. Om ze eruit te halen moet deze motorsteun helemaal eraf. Maar als we deze motorsteun weghalen, dan hangt letterlijk de motor alleen nog op zijn bovenste motorsteunen. Dus we moeten hem ondersteunen en dat willen we niet de hele nacht zo laten staan. Dus ik haal de landenzonnes eruit. Die zijn nou warm, dus dan gaan ze er net even wat makkelijker uit. En dan stoppen we ermee voor vandaag.
So, you've seen us wrap quite a few bumpers before, but we've never really explained why we do it and how we do it. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to explain to you how we go through cleaning, the process of taking the bumpers apart, the pieces that we take out, why we do it, and a few things we do before we fully wrap the bumper itself. We wash the car, we make sure that all the wheel arches are clean, inside all the places where there would be water and mud and stuff like that from being on the road. Once the car then comes back, it's wiped off, it's dried properly. Then we take out pieces like the grille, for example, here, and the front lip has also been taken off on this one. Because the colour we're wrapping the car on this one is a really light grey, but the car is white, we've not taken the headlights out on this one. So once all those parts are out, we then start cleaning again, but we use our surface cleaner, which is what Bjorn's doing now. Model over here. If we're leaving any car parts in, for example these grills here or the headlights have already been taped off. That's so that nothing sticks to the headlight. For example with the vinyl, if you want to tuck it all the way in, if the masking tape's there, it stops it sticking from the headlight and you can quite easily tuck it as far as you can and hide all the paint. Then another thing we do before we start wrapping the full bumper is lay small patches like this. Because when you're wrapping the bumper as one, it's not going to fit in there. If you try and stretch it in there, it's going to pop straight back out again. So if you lay these, the rest of the bumper is a lot easier to wrap. We do spray water on the floor. The reason for that is when you pull the backing paper off of the vinyl, it's really static and it picks up all the dust off of the floor. So what we do is spray this on the floor underneath the bumper to pick up all the dust.
So at the moment we're trying to get, we already have one downpipe out, it came off fairly easy. We're trying to get the second one out, but it seems to have welded itself together, and we're trying to open the gap up to loosen it off so that we can pull the downpipe out that way. But maybe if we try to pull the rest of the exhaust system that way, we might be able to get it off. It's basically just trial and error and see how we can remove it so we can put the new one in. What is going to work? But it's still stuck, so now we're trying to heat the outside of the pipe to hopefully make the outer one expand a little bit so that we can get the pipe out. But I don't know if it's going to work, but we need to try something. So yeah, go on, twist it. Same. Kick. Yes.
Before we start every car, we measure all the panels on the car, write a list, take the list upstairs, roll out the vinyl, cut everything out, label it, put it in a box. So when you're ready to wrap, it's nice and easy. You pick up the part that's labelled to that part of the car, for example, front bumper, and it's already the right size. So to start with, you just make sure that it covers all of the bumper, all the corners, to make sure it is the right size. And you have enough. So we start by squeegeeing in the middle just to hold the vinyl in place. Then you always wrap a bumper with 2 people, 1 person on the side, 1 person with a heat gun in the middle, and then you pull it around. With a bit more skill than that, but I'm not going to give you my top tips. The reason we use a heat gun is to warm up the vinyl to make it stretchy. Then you can pull it around the bumper. The reason you pull it around the bumper is so that when you come to finish near the edge of a panel, you can cut it back and heat it and it shrinks to the edges. And it basically makes it fit the bumper as you go around. It's hard to explain what we do because we kind of just do it. So if you don't pull the vinyl hard enough, when it comes to fitting the top of the bumper up here, it won't shrink back and you'll have to stretch it, and therefore you leave it for a week and it will ping back again. So you have to make sure you pull it hard enough. But then if you pull it too hard, 2 things can happen. The vinyl will tear, or when it comes to an edge and you shrink it, you've pulled it too far, so it will just pull itself back again. So you have to find that in between happy balance of pulling and not pulling. But then depending on the shape of the bumper as well, sometimes you have to pull up or you have to pull down to fit the shape of the bumper. You're basically now setting yourself up to finish the bumper correctly. Depending on which brand of material you're using, each one you have to wrap with differently. Some you pull harder, some you use more heat, some you use less heat. Others are less conformable, so you have to lay more inlays before you wrap the bumper. Otherwise it will fail if you try and stretch it in somewhere.
now that that is out, it should be a fairly simple job to put the new downpipes back in the car. This is our wonderful magazine. You'll see when we get the 2 downpipes next to each other, this section on this one is a lot smaller than the section on the original one. That's because the Novitec ones that the car had in are like a 200 cell downpipe. These ones are a complete decat, so it is going to be a hell of a lot louder. So we have 2 here. That is the old one we've just taken off the car. This is the new one. This is what I was saying before. This is a lot smaller than that. That is a complete decat. This is Sport Cats. And the colour difference. We probably installed this one 2 months ago. and it's already discoloured and looks like that. They arrive completely silver. It doesn't take long for them to look used and more. So a little fact for anyone with lambda sensors, you always twist them 6 or 8 times in the opposite direction so that when you do them up, the wire doesn't get twisted and stuck. And then you just twist it back in and make sure they're super tight.
We gaan de 812 starten, straight pipe. Ik heb het nog nooit eerder gehoord. Er is mij gooibescherming geadviseerd, maar ik kan het wel aan zonder, denk ik. Dus we gaan het horen.
Top tip,
Don't be a sheep, bro.
always work hard. Drive to survive. Don't drink and smoke. Oh wait, what? Don't drink and drive, smoke and fly.
A squeegee is the main tool that we use. It removes the air between the vinyl and the bumper. Now there are air channels behind the vinyl in the glue that releases the air to adhere the vinyl to the bumper. Oh my God, thanks for ruining my flow. May I have it back? My most used tool. Did you get that? Sick, and it was left-handed. So now Bjorn's using a scalpel to cut out the excess material in the middle. Now you have to make sure you cut that quite small because the way that the shape of the bumper is, as you'll see by my trusty colleague over here, he's now going to heat the vinyl and shrink it back into that recess. Now the reason you leave this area free and a lot of vinyl on the edge is because you want the heat to be here, so the stretch is here and not on the part of the panel that you're fitting. And the reason for that is, if you heat this area and stretch it in there, it's not going to stay. It won't last that long. It will look great for a bit, but it's not going to last you the warranty of the vinyl. Next, you fit part by part. So that's really loud. Elias! Thank you. So once you squeegee down the flat parts of the bumper, you then start part by part. So for example, here we started with the grille. You fit to a recessed edge. If you were to fit to this, well, it's not even an edge, but halfway through the panel, you'd get what we call a glue line, and then you can't get rid of that. So what you need to do is make sure you always stop on an edge if you're going to stop, or fit the full part before you move on to the next one. So then we've gone on to the headlight, and again stopped on the edge of this panel recess, and won't move on to the next part, for example here or in here, until that's completely finished to avoid that glue line and make it look like paint basically. The Becky tip for wrapping a car: let the professionals do it.
So right now we're just going to leave the car running because the Novitec exhaust, or any exhaust in general really, comes with a coating on it and it needs to burn it off in order for it to stop smoking, and that's why we've got a lot of smoke coming out of both ends. And also the oil that we use to grease it creates smoke when it burns off as well.
Kriebelt gewoon in mijn oren. Alsof er gewoon alsof er bloed uitkomt. Dat is niet normaal. Dat is echt niet normaal. This is sick.
Well, so that wasn't even at its highest, like, yeah. No. So the next thing is test driving the car. We need to move all these cars out so we can get it out, and then test drive it, basically to see that there's no issues with the car. We don't want any engine lights coming on or any engine failures. It should be good, but we always have to test this because you want it to be 100% before we give it to the customer. So, let's go. The things we're basically looking for are that we don't get an engine light on or a cat overheating light now that it's decatted. We want to keep an eye on the engine temperature, the coolant temperature and the oil temperature. And if they're all good to go, then the car's good, it's finished, and we can give it back to the customer. And it sounds sick. When you downshift with the catless, you get that whoom, which is, I think if you own a Ferrari, it puts a smile on your face every time that you go out and drive in it. It's something that makes everyone happy that drives one, which is the reason why you decat your A12. That is the test drive pretty much done. Everything on the car seems good, there's no issues, there's no engine lights, it's running at the right temperature. The coating that is on the exhaust is now pretty much burnt off, so now it is time to deliver the car back to the customer and let him enjoy his straight piped V12 Superfast.
The most important part when it comes to finishing a panel on a car is the post heating. Now, depending on which vinyl you use depends on the temperature that you post heat it to. The reason you post heat is vinyl will always want to return to its original state, and that original state is flat. So if, for example, you've heated it into a place like this and there's a small amount of stretch, if you do not post heat it, chances are that's going to ping back out again and it's going to return to its flat memory and stay there. What post heating does at the correct temperature is basically kills the memory in the vinyl, and then the vinyl will stay exactly where it is, and then you've got a good job, basically. After the car is wrapped, the next most important thing is the maintenance of your wrap. It's the same whether it was wrap or whether it was paint. You need to not take it through a car wash. Don't leave it in direct sunlight. Try and hand wash it if you can, and use specific products that are for wrap. We would also recommend coating the wrap, which would extend the life because it adds an extra layer on top of the wrap to keep it fresh underneath. If you get, for example, bird poo or dirt on the car on top of the wrap or paint, we'd always recommend wiping it off straight away because it will leave a stain on the wrap or paint. Again, so it's not more high maintenance than paint because you should look after them both the same. Yeah, there's a couple of top tips on how to maintain your wrap. We hope this video has given you an insight into how we wrap and how you should wrap, some top tips and how to maintain it. If you've got any more questions, please leave a comment below and we'd be more than happy to help.